want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Welcome to episode 18 of Unblocked Creators. I'm your host, Jesse James Carver. If you've been here with me since the start, I just want to say thank you. It sure has been a blast, and every person listening to this encourages me to keep going. So I'll keep going. Today, I get to talk to Taylin Simmonds, who actually was one of the first people who crossed my radar when I started my newsletter, when I started writing online. I started a newsletter called The Unblocked Carver because I'm a woodcarver, and also because I was interested in the Zen idea of the uncarved block, unmanifest potential, you might say. And this podcast eventually was inspired from that journey, and I called it The Unblocked Creators because I want to interview creators of all kinds and find out how they find their way in this world. I'm sort of undergoing an investigation of sorts into the creator economy, the future of human creativity in a world increasingly filled with AI, and how we tap into our creative power. So Taylin was a college teacher, and he wasn't very happy with his income level, so he became a ghostwriter, eventually leading to $500,000 years as a ghostwriter. So I'm very excited to unlock some of the insights that he has to offer us. Without further ado, here's the episode. All right. Hey, welcome, Taylin.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm stoked to be here.
Well, it's kind of a long time coming. I've been noticing you since basically my origin with deciding to become a writer online myself. And I just sort of casually write. I write a newsletter, but you're the main person who put ghostwriting on my radar. And so that's been about a year and a half now of seeing your stuff and seeing your evolution a little bit. So I'd like to ask you first about the origin point for you. So you were a college teacher, and you were not a English department teacher, right? So your background wasn't writing per se. So how did you become a ghostwriter?
Yeah, man. Like, I was a college teacher, loved teaching, but wanted a way to make quite a bit more money. And I wanted more location freedom as well, which is, it's kind of trite. Like, why else does anybody get into working online? Is I want to be more free, I want to travel, I want to have more control over my time, and I want to make more money. So that was basically it for me. I also was trying to make a relationship work that was, across the ocean. My girlfriend at the time was living in Germany. And I was like, well, if I don't find a way to make money online, this relationship is just nuked, done, nuclear, ended. So that was enough motivation for me to really try to figure it out. And I met a guy at a coffee shop who said, man, if you write every day for an entire year online on Twitter, I promise you it'll change your life. And I thought he was crazy, because I'm like, it's Twitter where people talk about politics and argue and get mad about shit. And but I was like, what do I have to lose? So I started writing on Twitter, and the guy his name was Liam, he seen that I posted, and he retweeted it. He's like, hey, like, awesome, I'm stoked you actually did it. I didn't think you actually would. And then Dakota Robertson actually seen that tweet, and I'd never met him before. And he sent me a message, and he looked at my banner. He goes, yo, do you live in Kelowna? I recognize some of these like places these photos were taken. I was like, I do actually. He's like, oh, I'm from Kelowna. I'm just in the States right now, like living with Dan Coe or something. And I was like, cool. He's like, yeah, let's stay in touch. And he was the one who ended up introducing me into ghostwriting and being my mentor and everything. And that was how I got into it, was like a total fluke chance that I met a random dude at a coffee shop who like told me to write on Twitter. I actually did it. He retweeted it. Dakota happened to see it and then reach out to me, and then he introduced me to ghostwriting.
Wow. So you must have had some ability to write, some background, having experience writing a little bit at least.
Well, I had written before, as a college teacher, I had to build a master's curriculum from the ground up. So I had to write all the lessons and all the assignments and everything. But that was my introduction into writing. Like, it was the first time I'd ever tried to do it. And it did not come easy to me. I remember sitting down to write that first module when I became a college teacher. And I was like, wait, how do I write this? Like, what do I write? Like, I've never really written stuff like this before. All I've done is text messages and emails. Like, what the hell? So it did not come naturally. And even when I started writing online, that didn't come naturally either. I was writing on Twitter where stuff is really short, and it was so hard for me to condense something into a tweet. I remember everything was like 4 times longer than a tweet, and it took me months and months and months of writing to finally figure out, okay, this is how we say something punchy, and in hindsight, I think that was actually one of the best things for me, because so many people learn to write by writing essays or going to university where you have bloated word counts, and they learn the opposite way, where my first thing really learning writing and taking it seriously, my first opportunity into it was, can you write in as least amount of words as humanly possible? And that was pretty much what I did for the first year, 2 years. And it was interesting doing that and then getting into long form after. I mean, okay, I can expand ideas, but I'm always used to thinking about how do I use the least amount of words and condense ideas. And I think that's really helped me in my writing a lot, probably more than I even give it credit for.
Yeah, that's interesting. It seems like the value of constraint is a big lesson in creative work, and in communication, of course, being concise, learning to be clear in a concise manner is quite a challenge. So on X, did you find that it was a learning curve that took a while to figure out how to write in a way that was impactful in such a short form?
Oh, 100%. It didn't come naturally to me. I was a very rambly, redundant writer and thinker at the time. And I also had never written on social media before. This was my first time trying to figure out, how do I market? What's a hook? What types of posts even do well? What types of ideas do well? It was learning all of those skills at once. So it was a lot. And I'd say even now, 4 years since I've started, I just now feel like I'm starting to get good at writing short form. Some people might find that kind of defeating, but it's only because I wasn't as focused as I could have been over those years. I was also learning business and sales and managing clients. It's not like I was just focusing on writing good content.
Well, yeah. Well, just it wouldn't be very defeating knowing what else you accomplished by then or by now. So you've built, I think it was single-handedly when you first built up to $500,000 a year ghostwriting business, right? And now you're scaling an agency. And so to a lot of people who imagine maybe they could make some money online, those sound like big numbers. That's quite a success.
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't do it single-handedly. I do have a co-founder who was my best friend from high school, that when I started ghostwriting, I actually got viciously sick. I had 3 clients, I think. I was so sick. I was able to take time off my teaching job, but I couldn't take time away from writing for these clients because content had to go out. So I'm like imagine one of the most sick that you've been, and you're in bed, still trying to write content and email clients. And I was like, this is terrible. And I was pretty new to the business world. I didn't think to myself, oh, I should just find an operator and give them a cut. Instead, I went to my best friend from high school, was like, oh, do you want 50% of my company to build it with me? Which is some people in business would say it's a pretty dumb decision. In hindsight, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made, not only financially, but just in terms of building with your best friend has been very fruitful and very fun and fulfilling for us. And we've had a lot of crazy experiences together doing it, which has just been incredible. But yeah, it did take the 2 of us to get to the $500K per year. And it took a lot more than just writing to do it as well. That's maybe one of the common misconceptions is people would say, oh, you're making $500K writing online. It's yes, that is the marketing channel. And there's a lot more that goes into it though, because we had to learn sales, we had to learn offer creation, value creation, different marketing channels. We had to learn like client fulfillment, client retention. There was so many skills that neither of us had any experience in when we started. So it was like learning all of these skills in tandem, which is not the most efficient way to learn. If anyone's ever like seriously tried to learn something, it's usually like one thing at a time. We were learning like so many things at once. But it's been a really fun, crazy journey, but it's definitely a bit more than just writing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I appreciate your willingness to, you know, be real about what the path actually looks like for someone finding their way as a creator or a business person, because there's a lot of people who get really excited when they hear some of these engaging titles about, how much you can make in a year, and the opportunities of the creator economy. But there's also a lot of people who start out thinking that they're going to get much faster results, and then it's disillusioning and disheartening, and then they give
Yeah.
up. So what's your experience now with teaching? Because you teach people how to become ghostwriters, right? So what's the experience of helping people just like develop the right mindset even to begin something that is going to be quite difficult, right? There's skills that if you haven't developed them yet, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, the part about teaching is, well, for one, it's fun being back teaching. Um, I I missed teaching when I quit my job. And when people started asking me, can you teach me how to be a ghostwriter? I was actually really excited about that because it was like, oh, something that I'm passionate about. I can bring the teaching experience back in, creating curriculums and courses and stuff. Like I genuinely enjoy doing that and just systemizing knowledge to understand it better myself. So I was very happy to jump back into that chair. And since teaching, again, especially in the online space, what I've found interesting is that it's often not the writing and the hard skills that people have the hardest time with. It's actually the soft skills of productivity, time management, dealing with emotional regulation and overwhelm and things like that is a totally different set of skills that unless you put yourself in the situations that like have to really work on those, like maybe you're an athlete growing up, so you have to deal with working under pressure, or maybe you're someone who has worked multiple jobs and you're used to juggling a lot and overwhelm and having to really be careful with your time. But some of the students that we get, they have families, they're working full-time jobs, and they're trying to become ghostwriters on top. So it's not that they're bad writers or marketers or anything. They're actually quite good even when they come in. Like naturally, it's this thing that I'd end up teaching them on or coaching them on is actually the soft skills of just managing their own emotions and their energy levels, which is something that I did not expect when I got into this space.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Um, it makes me think a little bit about even like one of the teachers I had in university who was a writing professor. He was an English professor. Um, but half the time he used it as an excuse to deliver readings that were more conducive to our inner development. And it wasn't so
Hmm.
much about the writing, it was more so about how writing allowed you to think things through, and even, he would like encourage us to meditate and things like that. So,
You're a pretty dope teacher.
oh, amazing. Yeah, he was kind of one of the people who inspired me to conduct interviews. And he got
Mm.
me connected with a fella named Wade Davis, who's an anthropologist, who's also an old friend of Dennis McKenna, who I know you're familiar with, brother of Terrence McKenna, who's just on my podcast last week.
Awesome.
And Dennis was one of the early scientific researchers of
Hmm.
ayahuasca. So he's been involved in studying those plant medicines for a long time now. But yeah, this professor, it was a funny opportunity in an academic institution to be introduced to someone who got me connected in these very uh, alternative sort of fields.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it that you taught when you were in the college?
I taught music production. So I've always been more of an artist than anything. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to make money through art of some form or be a teacher. So I ended up becoming a music producer when I was younger. So I worked at an independent record label, writing music for other people, and it was super fun. But again, I was just very broke. So my experience in a lot of my 20s was, okay, I'm doing what I want to do, but I'm not making enough money. And at first, I had this belief, well, if I'm just writing music every day, if I'm just creating art every day, it doesn't really matter how much money I make. And then I lived that life. It was one thing to think it, it was another thing to actually like live it. And my car would have something wrong with it. And I'm like, well, I guess I can't drive for like 2 or 3 weeks. My family would be like, oh, hey, we're doing a trip like somewhere, you should come. And it's like, well, I don't exactly have money for gas to drive like 8 hours and to not work this weekend. I'd go to the grocery store and it's like, there was a point in time when I was a musician where I literally had to skip breakfast and only eat ramen for lunch. And then I could actually have it like real food for dinner. And after like so much of that, it's like, this just doesn't feel right to me. Like I'm not enjoying creating anymore because I just feel so stressed about money and about everything. Um, I also just felt like my worth was a lot lower. Like I had friends who went to college and took different routes than me, some who were getting into business, they were buying houses, they were thinking about kids, they were buying nicer cars, and I was stuck living with a bunch of roommates in like a crappy car, driving a crappy car and like barely able to afford decent food, couldn't go on trips with them. And like that just started to really weigh on me. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm worth very much. I felt like my status was very low. And I was like, I really want to make like more money. So that's what led me to be a college teacher. I was like, okay, I get to be a teacher. It didn't, I didn't get paid that much as a college teacher, but at the time it felt like a lot of money. It was like a huge relief. Like, oh, what a level up from minimum wage to college teacher. And that was good for a number of years, and it allowed me to develop some incredible skills. Teaching music was super fun. Like what a fun thing to teach. I was basically teaching people to write dubstep and house music, and that was like what I did for a living. It was super fun, and students loved it. It was a really great time. And then at that point, I was like, okay, I still just don't feel like I'm making enough money for the ideal lifestyle I want to live. And that was when I ended up getting into the online space, right? So that's the story there.
Okay. No, I don't want to abandon that thread from before of how it seems to be that a lot of people getting into something like ghostwriting, it turns out, need more of the soft skill development. That's very interesting because it seems to turn out that way for a lot of people in the online business world. And our mutual friend Dan Coe has inspired many in a way that's quite interesting because he sort of takes these things that people see as two different worlds and puts them together. And sort of more philosophical, esoteric self-development. And then online business, well, they turn out to be very much one thing, right? And people often even say entrepreneurship, it's like how do they put it? It's like an excuse to just focus on self-development, or that's essentially the main thing that it turns out to be. You might make some money, you might end up developing a lot more freedom in your life, but really it's the chance to develop yourself in a way that most career paths don't allow. So how did you adapt to that? How did you adapt to realizing that was what you needed to help people sort out?
Well, it comes for helping people sort it out. That comes from just noticing what people are struggling with. And a lot of times with students, I check in with them every week, how are things going? And they go, hey, I just haven't been able to get off my phone for a week. I was a little shocked to see like how much dopamine addiction and phone addiction is like a true problem for people. Like I'm someone who, like anybody, like also struggles with dopamine, and I do get addicted to it. That's why I don't watch TV anymore, or very rarely. I don't really watch shows unless I can binge them very quickly. I try during my day, like I don't listen to any music or have any stimulation of activities until after all my work is done. Like not even music. I'm basically allowed to like meditate, do breath work or work. I don't even allow myself to read because that can be too much dopamine, and then I don't feel the drive to work anymore.
Wow.
So I'm someone who is definitely understanding of what it means to be dopamine addicted, but I was also quite shocked to hear the amount of people that were like, "Oh, I just didn't do anything because I couldn't not watch YouTube." That's something I personally had never experienced. Like I've been able to sit down and do my work and just feel the pull to want to watch YouTube or binge a series and be like, oh, it's so hard to focus because my body is just like, go and do this more fun thing. And it makes what I'm doing like a huge slog and I can't work as fast and get as much done. Or I might check out of work a little earlier than I probably should by like an hour. Be like, oh, I'll finish the rest tomorrow, and I'd like go and do that. So I definitely have experienced that. But to talk to people that are like, I can't get off YouTube. I can't get off my phone. I'm like, that is pretty crazy. And that's what showed me how big of the problem really was. And it's a very tough thing to coach people through because it's truly like an addiction problem. Like
Yeah.
I had a friend who told me once that the word addiction, I think it stems from a Latin word that is something like mind control or takes control. It's something like that. But that was very telling to me. It's like, oh, I'm literally doing something without even realizing I'm doing it. If I'm addicted to YouTube, I just open it and I'm watching it. And next thing you know, I'm like, what just happened? So that's a very tough thing to coach people through. There's only so much that I can really help people with. And if I'm honest, the real solution to this is like for us just to not work with people who are dealing with addictions that truly cripple them to the point that they won't even do anything.
Yeah. Maybe they're in need of a different stage of assistance.
Something that's far beyond what I'm able to accomplish. But the
Yeah.
best that we're basically able to do is with stuff like that is just remind them like, hey, like get off of it altogether. Dopamine detox, install cold turkey and all these ad blockers and everything. Like the standard bro science stuff, like, oh, you're addicted, just get cold turkey. Then your addiction will go away.
Yeah, the tools are
So
there. The information is there, but it's just very difficult, and people are dealing with a lot of stuff internally that,
yeah.
is behind addiction, right? So,
I will say this though, man, is I came to the realization through just my own experience of business being a self-improvement tool and what it means to be holding back your business or to be the constraint. Because before I was into business, I would call myself an intellectual yet idiot. I think that's what Nassim Taleb calls them. I used to read like 100 books a year. I was just reading and teaching. So I was very like lost in the realm of theory and intellectualizing and mental models. And then when I got into business, I remember thinking, I know psychology. Oh, I know this, I know that. Like I know sales. And then I had to market and I'm like, none of this is working. Maybe I don't know psychology so well. It's like reality is one of the true stress testers of knowledge, right? Like it's very
yeah.
punishing. It shows you if you're right or not. So that was the first time I'm like, oh, maybe I don't understand the psychology stuff as well as I thought I did. I just know what the models are. I don't know how to apply them. And then I get on sales calls like, okay, I don't know sales as well as I thought I did because I can't close these people. So business started to like test me and like in taking all this theoretical knowledge and applying it, what ended up being good was I had so much theoretical knowledge from so many years of reading that I didn't find it too difficult to pick up applying it with a little bit of guidance and iteration. Because it wasn't like I was being introduced to something. It was, okay, how do I just take this thing and actualize it and get it to work? So that was useful. And as my business began to grow, I realized that the business and the marketing and stuff weren't really the bottlenecks at all that were holding back my business, which until you're in business, you would never guess that that would be the case. It became that I couldn't manage a team and delegate effectively. And I'm like, okay, well, now I need to become a better leader. And then it became that I was not setting boundaries with my clients and they were taking up too much time. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of like a relationship advice, like how to set boundaries. So now I'm learning how to set boundaries in business, and that's also improved my love life. And then, thinking about my love life, I was with the wrong partner and we were both just like not good for each other. And that was causing me to lose a lot of time, energy, and mental bandwidth. And I wasn't able to focus as much on my business. So then I was just essentially losing in business because I was with the wrong partner. Like that was a big factor at least. And even now, at the time of us recording this, I'm actually at a point in my business journey where my business growth is literally capped by my health. Like I don't have good enough health to work as much and as hard as I need to over long enough time horizons. My body doesn't have the level of resilience. So I'm getting stressed too easy. Needing more time to recover than I would like. So I'm trying to do, Substack, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as like a paid newsletter, as well as creating courses, as well as doing Growth Ghost and running an agency. And, yes, I am delegating things. It's not like I'm doing all of that myself. There is delegation. I do have team members and partners, but the parts that do fall on me to fulfill on every week, I just keep finding myself with not enough energy or bandwidth to do them. So now it's like, okay, I'm taking a step back. I'm going to the gym. I'm actually like going surfing. I have started doing breath work almost every day to help with emotional regulation. I've started going to bed at the same time, which I haven't done since I got into business. I've always just gone to sleep when work was done. Now it's like, nope, got to go to bed at this time, got to get up at this time. And slowly but surely, I'm feeling my body adapt and get more resilient, and I'm able to be more consistent. But at this stage in my game, it's interesting that like my business growth is literally capped by my poor quality of health, which I never would have known if I didn't go into business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like if you're living with your bar set kind of low, then the limits of your health never become super evident as a problem, the limits of your energy, right? But the more you're raising the bar, you start to see like, okay, I actually could have a lot more sustainable energy here, or yeah, a lot more energy to focus.
Exactly. Like 100%, man. My girlfriend, which I'm with a different partner now, who's so much better for me. So I fixed the love problem.
Yeah.
So now I have more time, energy, and I just more support in the ways that I personally like to have them. That has made it easier for me to grow in my business. But she's been fantastic. She's got me eating like salads for breakfast and eating really healthy. She got me
Yeah.
off of Diet Pop, which I was a huge Coke Zero fan. I was drinking like 1 to 3 of those a day. I've lost like, I think 6 or 7 kilos of weight since I started dating her as well. So that's been just incredible. So I'm starting to feel so much healthier, and that's been so much better. But it's taken me time, and it hurts to take a step back and say, oh, I got to get my health figured out just so that I can, grow my business. Because right now I want to grow. I don't want to take a step back and focus on my health, but it's like I have no other choice. It's a painful reality.
Yeah. It's a balancing act that we're all faced with, right? So the painful reality is also that we're mortal. We're mortal beings, and we're going to face illness at one time or another. Um, so yeah, it's like, to me, it feels very important to get your values in order, even if your goal is to build a lot of wealth,
Hmm.
to know what's really important to you, right? Like time is going to pass on by so fast. So, um, do you find that knowing what money is useful for is like when you don't know what you really want, is it harder to be motivated to even make money?
That's a good question. Um, I can only speak from my own experience that I like Alex Hormozy's frame around motivation, that motivation is born from deprivation. So if you are deprived of water, you are motivated to go and drink. The really classic one, if you're deprived of sex, you're like, I really need to go get laid. That's one that most people would probably resonate with. If you're deprived of money, you might be motivated to go get money. But the thing with money is that it's actually relative. Like the deprivation is more perceived than it is absolute. So it's very easy for your body to understand, oh, I'm deprived of water and I need water. With money, there are people that make $5 million a year that are like, I'm deprived of money because I need 50 million. And there's people that only make like $50,000 a year and they don't feel any deprivation when it comes to money. So it's all around like I think Dan Coe said this once. It's like if you want to improve your life, you just need to raise your standards. And I think that really comes into play when it comes to money and like what is the reason to make money. Is it that you're like, okay, I'm going to raise my standards across like multiple domains of life? I actually want to get in better shape, but I'm working too much. So now I need to make leveraged income. So I have more time to focus on my health. I want to raise my standards in the area that I'm living or like the home that I'm living, or I'm not saying you need to buy a mansion, but maybe you're not living in your dream house and you need to actually raise your standards and say, this is not okay, the house that I'm living in. It was okay at one point, but now it's not. Your standards could be that you have a family and you're like, I want to be able to send my kids to like better schools or to provide them with money to invest into a business that they start when they turn 18 or even 16. And that becomes a raised standard. So there has to be some form of deprivation that is driving you to want to make more money. And it doesn't, again, the deprivation doesn't need to be money itself for money's sake. Like at this stage in my game, I'm starting to realize that the artistic projects that I want to create in the future are going to require capital. And that gives me like a sense of financial deprivation and makes me want to make more money. Not so that I can even buy nicer things or live in a nicer house or get a new car or go on even like fancier trips, like that stuff. I no longer feel deprived of those things to a certain extent. It's more, I need to make more money to do the things that I want to do artistically. And that deprivation is enough to make me want to figure out how to make more money. So it's like that reason just needs to come from a deprivation of some sort.
Yeah, I like that perspective. Kind of speaks to the idea of having an anti-vision as well. Like, if I don't make more money, like, what does it look like long term? And, you know, what limitations does that place on my elder years and my life in general? And then you can, you can make it matter enough, right? The other thought that was coming to me just now was, let's see, kind of slipped my mind a little bit, but oh yeah, you were talking on an episode. You recorded a conversation with Dale, your co-founder,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about doing work for free early on. You were talking about when you want to do something like ghostwriting and you don't yet have the skill set, then step one is develop the skills. And so that's something I'd like to talk about because, I mean, I've talked to people recently who said, I'm interested in this whole creator economy space. Like, how do I start some kind of online business? I found Dan Co. and I found these people, but I feel like I don't really have any skill yet. And people say, just start before you're ready or launch, like just launch something. But if you don't really have a skill developed yet, you don't have the social proof, you don't have the confidence. You might even feel like you're like scheming someone if you try to charge money for things you're not ready to sell. So what's your mindset around for creators in general, and especially people who want to ghostwrite?
Mm-hmm.
How can they think about this initial investment in themselves and like they want to make money? I'm here to make money. So what's with all this free work?
Yeah, so the big picture of this is that if you're going to be a creator, the meta money model is skill acquisition, attention acquisition, revenue acquisition. So first you need to acquire some form of skills that you can exchange or create something with to then get attention to a product or a service. Either the service is you offering the skill, the product is I use skill to create this thing. You then grab attention, that's marketing, that can be through any way of marketing, get attention on the product or service, and then get someone to buy it to get revenue. So that's how I think of the creator model. And there's a lot of like nuances within that and different ways to do it. But at the end of the day, like that is the only way to improve and become a creator and make money. Like I have not found any other way around it. Is you need to acquire skills. Like, so in the beginning, you might not know what skills you want to acquire, but it's like, well, you need to be able to get attention. That was kind of where I started was, okay, I need to be able to get attention, which means I need to market. And what's the backbone of marketing? Which is writing. If you can write, you can do cold email, you can write social media content, you can do ads, you can do YouTube video scripts. So if you learn to write, you can do the marketing side of things, and that allows you to get attention for whatever you want to sell. And funny enough, once you learn to market, you can just sell the marketing as the skill as well to help people, do their marketing as well. So it's like, okay, well, I can learn the skill and the attention piece like at the same time. So that's why writing and marketing, and in hindsight, that would be the theory behind it. If I thought, as if I had actually thought that through while I was doing it, no, I wasn't that smart. But like in hindsight, that is how I would think about it. So, like, but if you're not someone who wants to learn to write, it's like, well, you just got to find a skill that people are using to monetize. It could be video production. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. Maybe this just shows me how entrenched I am in the writing world that I don't even know what other offers exist. You know, e-commerce and different things like that. There's so many different things, but people can dive in. But writing would be the one that I most focus on in terms of its ability to be like a good revenue driver, as well as teaches you marketing, teaches you clearer thinking. It's just such a valuable skill. It's one that people sleep on nowadays because the culture is, if you're gonna get into writing, you need to become an author, or you'll just be broke. But it's like people, in my opinion, even if they're not like making money with writing or pursuing writing as a career, like should make time at least every week to write and sort their head out. That'd be like my thought.
Yeah, I agree with that big time. I think that we all sort of know that we live on autopilot a lot of the time and we're living out a lot of habitual thoughts. And I don't see any better way than practicing writing to sort of put a wedge in between the conditioned thoughts and, uh, take a bird's eye view of your own mind at work and reframe things and even investigate what you believe, right? Like we sort of just believe things to be true without even noticing that it's a
Mm-hmm.
belief. So writing has been huge for just getting to know myself, um, much less, the impact that it's had on building connections. Like I haven't made a lot of online money yet. I've done some freelance work. I've experimented with a few things. Um, but I know that there's so many ways that writing has leveraged like every experiment that I've done. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, writing is big. Now, what about people obviously are going to use AI quite a bit for marketing and writing in general these days. And I've seen you write a little bit about your process with that and making sure that you are letting writing enhance your thinking and then letting AI work with you on your writing. But you see the temptation people have to just have AI do the writing for them. AI is getting better and better, right? So you can see pretty good stuff coming out of it sometimes. Now, yeah, how do you frame the importance of what a human can do as a ghostwriter? Yeah. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Tools are tools, and they can be high leverage, and they can be abused, but they are what they are once they exist. Now, I feel like still there might be some kind of newcomers to the space listening who they've been persuaded that they should write online or something along those lines. One of the questions might be where to begin. So like X is good for the short form challenge, right? That it imposes on you. And it's a platform that people are using. There's lots of people there. You've become really bullish on Substack, which a lot of people recently have. But what would you say, just someone just saying like, look, I don't even know how to write yet. What's a hook? I don't even know what a hook is. Um, which is kind of me. I'm a year and a half in, and I still don't know what a hook is, man. But yeah, where should someone just start if they just haven't started yet?
Yeah. Like if they're like really, really, really rough, like very new, and they're not even ready to publish online yet, I would say just start by writing your journal. Just do a daily journaling practice of getting stuff down, exploring your thoughts, and see if you enjoy that process without the pressure of public writing. If you enjoy that and you're at the next stage where, okay, I want to find a platform, I would say Substack is probably the most beginner friendly because it will have the best feedback loop. Because right now there's such a short supply of content for the amount of attention on the platform that if a new person like posts on Substack, they are likely to just be naturally discovered and like acquire subscribers and followers without like having to do crazy amounts of work like on the other platforms. And that will probably feel rewarding and make them want to keep creating. So I'm not even saying it as go on Substack, it's the easiest one, like you're just going to get all these outcomes. I'm just saying if you're writing online and you're posting and you're getting some form of engagement and positive feedback, it'll probably help you keep posting. Where if you go to other platforms like X, LinkedIn, Instagram, you're going to have to do, like 30 minutes of commenting a day, a lot of networking, going to have to try to crack distribution, which just means getting people to see the things that you write. And that might be something that new writers don't want to do yet. They're like, I just want to write. I don't want to worry about all the other things that are involved to take this seriously. You're not at that stage yet. So for that stage of the game, I would recommend Substack. Um, but if you're someone who likes writing to more like corporate kind of stuff and you like stuff that's a bit more curated, maybe LinkedIn. If you're someone who has like super hot takes, maybe X. If you're someone who's kind of in the middle, like I just want to write about substance and ideas that really inspire me in my way, then I think Substack would probably be the best platform for that. So those are factors I would consider.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming with breaking news. You see, this June, Taylin Simmonds is speaking on stage in Vancouver, Canada, along with such creators as Dan Coe, who was on the previous episode of this podcast, and Kieran Drew, who was on an upcoming episode. Kimi Nora also will be the next episode. And you can go look up and learn all about all of these incredible creators at www.thelivinginternet.com. Go ahead and just click the link in the show notes to make it easy. They'll be speaking about various angles of how to succeed in the creator economy, build a personal brand, create an offer that sells, and live a life of purpose and meaning. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're seeking to become an entrepreneur in this new digital renaissance, go check out thelivinginternet.com and come be with us in person at the Futureproof Creator Summit in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's a 3-day-long event. You'll be sharing meals with fellow creators and getting clarity on your specific voice, who you are and what you have to offer, and how to actually build it and how to actually sell it. I hope to see you there. Do you want to maybe give a little glimpse to us of what you might be talking about, since you're going to be speaking on stage at the convention?
Yeah, I'm excited to meet up with everybody. That'll be really fun. It's very rare when everyone's traveling and living in different countries to get all those creators together. So it'll be a really fun time. I'll definitely talk about ghostwriting, talk about my experience with it. I'm still noodling on the exact direction that I'm going to go with it and how I'm going to do it. So I'm a little bit hesitant to talk too much about my thoughts on it, but I will 100% talk about ghostwriting, what I think the future of ghostwriting will be, as well as some other surprises that I'm hoping to have in store for it. But the main thing for me when doing a speech or something is it really needs to come from the gut. Like it has to be something that I can get up there and with like 100% conviction, I can make my points, tell my story, and really believe and feel like embody the message that I'm talking about. So it will probably evolve in the next like 8 months or 9 or 7 months or whatever until the convention to, if my life changes quite a bit by then, I might have to change the speech to really adapt to what I'm currently living in and going through. So ghostwriting for sure, you can expect that, and whatever other shit I'm going through at the time, we'll see.
Great. Yep. No, you can't predict too much 6 months in advance. So I'll be glad to listen to whatever is coming from the gut and from the heart when the time comes. One last thing that I would like to just hear some of your thoughts about, because the world is changing so fast right now, and people are questioning what the future of jobs, what the future of work will look like, and people argue about how much AI is overhyped versus how much it's going to restructure things, and I'm just wondering what you think about the education system, because on the one hand, it's often criticized in the creator economy space. There's downsides to the way the public education system has functioned. But it's also a long-lived tradition at this point that holds it holds a lot of potency, right? There's all these structures in place for writing good textbooks, and so curriculum gets made that's quite substantial and often quite high quality. And then there's the problems of how much the uh, academic institutions can adapt as things change, as the world changes. Can degrees maintain their relevance as fast as maybe alternative forms end? So the creator economy has been referred to as like a decentralized education system forming. I think there's a huge amount of truth in it, because there's all these people like yourself, and you're a great example because you were in the academic institution and you found an alternative career where you get to teach more people and leverage your income in a greater way, and have the time freedom and other forms of freedom you spoke of. So, what do you think is the future of education going to be? Mostly something kind of new and different,
Hmm.
uh, with the creator economy around, or is it maybe a combination of things? Is this something you've thought much about?
It is. It depends on the time horizon that we're talking about. I have predictions for where I think things will go, but over what time horizon or how long it will take to go through all of these changes and what technologies will emerge in that time and cultural shifts, I'm not sure, because that would change things. But the way I think about education is okay, the goal of education is for somebody to learn, and true learning is behavior change. It means that they learn something and then they can change their behavior and they can act differently to achieve or to get new outcomes. So essentially, you can think behavior change and skill acquisition, because once you've changed your behavior to act in a certain way, you've acquired a skill. If you grab a guitar and you play it wrong, but you change your behavior so your hands move in a different way, now you play it right, you've acquired the skill of playing the guitar. The problem with school right now is that it actually doesn't really have much to do with behavior change. It just has everything to do with memorizing. One thing I will give school props for, at least when you get to the university level, is I do think it does a decent job at getting people to think things through a bit more critically and to actually explore ideas. There's definitely problems with that approach as well, from what I've heard. Not that I've been to university. I've only taught college. But that's where I think things are kind of good. But there's just, in my opinion, not as much of a focus on behavior change, especially at like the elementary school to high school level. And like that should be purely focused on skill acquisition and behavior change and relevant skills and meta skills that will be around for a long time. I think, programming, I think kids like do learn programming now, but that should be almost like essential, like stuff that, even marketing, copywriting, things like that should actually be taught in school, and they should be graded not based on people's ability to memorize them, but based on their ability to actually like achieve outcomes with them or write copy or write code, not memorize like how code is written. Those would be two different things. So that's one big thing that I see that would need to shift. As for if that shift will happen, I don't know how long it will take or if that will happen for a very long time. I think it would take someone to come in and really do a major, major reform. Other things that I would think will need to change is that universities will have to lower their tuition, because I think that people need to be able to go and get multiple degrees across their lifetime easier. Right now, if somebody goes to school for like 5 to 10 years and then it's like, oh, I actually would like to transition into a different field because the world has evolved so quickly, it is too difficult for them to do that. And that, in my opinion, is one big thing that needs to change. I think a lot of the electives need to get taken out, and it should just be, if you want to learn marketing, like you just straight shot and you just learn marketing. So you could cut tuitions way down and you could shortcut people straight through if you got rid of a lot of the electives. That seems like it would make sense. And as for decentralization, I don't know if it'll ever fully go decentralized, but I have had that thought where I'm like, what is stopping Andrew Huberman, with how big he is, to just being like, I'm going to get the ability to, give out diplomas, degrees, PhDs, if people come and learn from me. He writes his own curriculum as updated as can be, and maybe there's guardrails in place for like having that curriculum overseen, and then people can just pay Andrew Huberman. He can teach them and they can graduate with, a degree, with a PhD and things of that nature. There's so many intellectuals that have gotten so big. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be allowed to start their own schools. There would definitely be problems with that. I'm not saying that's a perfect solution, but I personally do think that is a direction that we're going, is like the decentralization of some of these things. Because one thing that I've been thinking through quite a bit over the past year or two is like, what is a university really? And I think a university is a skill acquisition business with a cultural monopoly on credentials. Like that's really why you would go to school. Like the skill acquisition piece, like maybe I would change in that. I'm still thinking through this definition, but they essentially control, if you want to get a certain level of credentials to enter job markets, we control who can do that. And so in order to acquire those skills to do that, you have to go through us. So I'm like, okay, they're a business helping people get skills, but they have a monopoly on those credentials. No other businesses are allowed to give those credentials out. And I say a cultural monopoly because there's so many people that still believe in the idea of the university and believe it should be the gold standard. But if the culture changed and they were like, my kid shouldn't have to go to university to become a psychologist, they should be able to go learn from someone like Jordan Peterson or Dr. K, as long as they're learning from a professional, which if you think about how things have been since the beginning of humans, it's always you just learn from other humans who have done the thing. I don't see any reason why we can't go back to that model and actually it just will involve a culture shifting so that universities no longer own a cultural monopoly on the credentials, and people, more and more people, don't think that should be the case. And I think that's when reform would be possible.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I appreciate your perspective on that, and I think you're probably part of it. The consciousness shift that, however long it's going to take, or and wherever we end up. So
It's cool to be on one side of things, but I'm, I think you give me a little more credit than I deserve. But
well, we'll
sure,
see.
we'll keep working. We'll keep working towards it.
Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful for the insights you've shared with me today. I think what this does is it lays some really good foundation. If I can rope you into a part two one of these days before the
Heck
convention.
yeah. I'd be looking forward to a part two, man. It'll be fun, and I'm stoked for the creator convention as well. So, really excited to meet up with everyone in Vancouver and just watch Jack Moses DJ.
It's gonna be a groovy dance floor. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that'll be fun.
Okay. Thanks, Taylin. Talk to you soon, man.
Thanks, Jesse. Later.
Thanks for listening to episode 18 of Unblocked Creators. And if this episode interested you, then I hope to see you in Vancouver at the Futureproof Creator Summit this June, so you can spend time in the same room as Taylin Simmonds, Dan Coe, Kieran Drew, Jack Moses, Hussein Ibarra, Kimi Anora, Olivia Piers, Natalie Agnes, David Morin, Valentine Sounds, myself, and many other beginner, intermediate, and advanced creators, so that you too can find your way to a life of freedom, purpose, and meaning. Stay tuned for the next episode coming soon with Kimia Nora.